What up, YouTube? You already know. Big Lou. Tapping back in with What It Do with Big Lou, NFZR2, baby. Highly appreciate it. First time you're coming to the channel. If you sub, liked, and shared the channel with your family, friends, folks, gente, peoples, comrades, associates, asocios, camaradas, buddies, pals, amigos, or panas. And as always, I respond back to all the comments, so feel free to leave a comment. Now, I got a message from somebody last night about 11:30, and they told me, hey, go check out this video. I didn't get the message until this morning. I fell asleep a little early last night, and then I woke up real early this morning, but I didn't actually see the message until about 7:30 this morning, which is, today is Tuesday, right? The 12th. No, the 13th, excuse me. And so I started watching some of the video. I watched like probably the first 5 to 7 minutes, and then I stopped it. I'm just gonna say this. I don't know what's behind the video. What was the reason for the video coming out now? I'm not concerned with that, right? I can't call it like an alcoholic on that one there. But I will say this. Sundown, I know the man personally. I've been to his house. I broke bread with the dude. I knew his father. You know what I mean? I knew his father way before I knew him. He was locked up at the time doing in the joint. I knew his father well. R.I.P. Old man Rick. I've had many personal conversations with him about certain things, and he's very knowledgeable, right? On a whole wide range of things. Now, some might say, well, that comes with the territory, right? The older you get, the wiser you get, the smarter you get, because you have a lot more time to read. Somebody in their 50s, 60s obviously have more time to smarten up, wise up compared to somebody 25, right? Obviously, that goes without saying. But at no time, okay, let me just say it like this. There's some things I've heard that by many people that I know that at first you hear it and you think, oh man, they're full of it, right? They're putting a 10 on a 2, or in some cases a 20 on a 2. Some people like to say you're putting too much hot sauce on your burrito, baby. I'm not saying that, but I am repeating it right now. And I've heard many things from a lot of different people. Sometimes some of the shit seems like a Hollywood script, but it comes to find out it's a lot of truth to it. Now, a lot of times some people hear things second hand, third hand, maybe even fourth hand, and the story always gets tainted, right? Every time it gets passed on to another party, it gets tainted, right? And a lot of times you hear things and people will swear like they were there when they, repeat something. And then when you dive into it a little bit more and start questioning this person, you find out that it's third hand, fourth hand knowledge, right? And that's a common thing amongst people. And then you got those that like to hear stories, like, again, second hand, third hand, fourth hand knowledge. And they get so good with their memory that they're able to recite things like, excuse me, like if they were there when it happened. And I know a lot of cats that'll recite things like if they were there. For example, I was on this yard with this person, that person, that person, that person. But then when you come find out, it was just stories that that this individual put together from hearing from all these different guys, and stuff like that. And since everybody knows I don't like to get into specifics, but when you hold positions with your group segment, man, you're privy to more information than others. So with that being said, what I meant by that, I said that to say this, that when you're in a position of security and you're running people's names against a bad news list, for example, you start seeing the NAQs, which are the new rival questionnaires, come through, and you get to read them. You know what I'm saying? So you start getting privy to who was there with this guy at this prison in these years, and then you remember shit. And then if there are heavy names, like, names of guys that have been involved heavily throughout the years, throughout the game, right? You remember these names, and it's easy to remember. You know, some people got very good memories, such as myself, and there's guys even got better memories than me. You know what I'm saying? And so it is what it is. So I will say this: Sundown, he got put on. I think he went through the system in 72 or 73, and he got put on about 2 years later. So I want to say 1974, 75 tops, right? You're talking almost 50 years ago. You know what I'm saying? So can you say that, hey, maybe he misspoke and he was actually talking about another situation that happened and got it confused with this situation? Absolutely. You know, you're talking about 5 decades, right? 50 years, you know, almost 50 years, because he's like 66 or 67 years old. So you figure 18 years old, that was 49 years ago. So just about 5 decades. So, you know, 47 years, that's still close to 5 decades. So is he going to be 100% accurate? No. Now, some things he has said, like the general thing, like some people, Flacco's touched on it. Fig said that there is some truth to that. And the 33 years active, that's not true. But what he meant was 33 years, like good standings where, and in good standings where he's thinking in his head is that he never snitched on nobody, never debriefed on nothing, never gave him no information. Now, a lot of people think that. They'll think that because I never told on nobody, I never snitched on nobody, I never debriefed, they consider that still being good, which they do have a point to that. But technically, when you break it down and get into the nitty gritty of things, no, you're not. I mean, because if you landed on a yard with actual members, they're going to tear that ass up. Now, another thing is this. There was a lot of members that went through in the 70s, early 70s, 80, you know, all the way up through the 70s and maybe through the early 80s, mid 80s. And then they stood out all the way to the mid 90s, late 90s. And then they started going back to the system. They started catching prison terms again. A lot of members ran Native American, other, Mexican non-affiliate. And what do you think all those dudes that were from down south that were members of that what do you think they did? One's from San Diego, one's from Oxnard, one from San Bernardino, one's from Maravilla, one's from Bakers. What do you think they did? If they didn't have identifying tattoos, then they ran south. They ended up running south and prayed to God that their covers didn't get pulled. You know what I'm saying? By somebody from that town that knew them from back in the day and knew that they were members of that opposite, you know, the enemy. You know what I'm saying? The opposition. You know what I'm saying? There was a lot of dudes like that. I know cats that are Filipino, straight Filipino or half Filipino, that came back through the system and ran Filipino. They never had no tattoos on them. I know cats that are Puerto Rican that came back through the system, ran Puerto Rican. I know cats that are Mexican, Latino mixed with Native American, or Native American, and they ran Native American when they came back through. Okay. I heard something else about CDC knew that he never had debriefed and he had never told on nobody. There's some truth to that too, because I met some cats that I was in the hole with. One particular one that comes to my mind right off the bat, and he passed away. Mikeo Silva from Sanho, he caught a life sentence for a pistol charge in the late 90s. He came back through with a P number. And I met him in the hole in Tracy, and he shot me some paperwork, and he was trying to get back in good graces. But the fact was, at that time, there was nobody there that could make that call. There was nobody there that could go ahead and pass that through. There was no members of the O there at that time. So that was above everybody's pay grade that was there. Nobody could make that call. You know what I'm saying? And the fact was, he was MIA for so long. I don't know whatever happened to him. I mean, as far as with that, but I know he passed away cancer not too long after that. They shot him to Vacaville to basically hospice. You know what I'm saying? And he passed away there. So I know there is some truth to that. As far as CDC's eyes, you know, they'll threaten you. Oh, we're gonna keep an eye on you. You know, you make any wrong moves, we're gonna slam you. That type of shit, right? I knew a few guys that came back through the system later, like I said, and they did those things. Mexican non-affiliate, others, Native American, so on and so forth. But when you sit down and talk to Sundown, he's pretty much on point, man, as far as the history of things, especially during the 70s, especially with Crackers and Bobble and, you know, Fig and Hobo are two credible ex-members. One was a captain, one was a first lieutenant You know what I mean? And they hold lots of truths. You know what I'm saying? A lot of stuff they don't talk about. You know, they're just a little bit different than Sundown. They keep it quiet. They don't talk as much. Sundown talks a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? I mean, not indulging in crimes, though. Even the fact that he talked about this so-called hit, he's not going into details about it, because people say, well, there's no statute of limitations. Yeah, there ain't, but he's not giving up details about where it was, or, I mean, like who it was or anything like that. And who knows? Maybe it's not even true. Maybe he just did it just to get on the video. I don't know. But when you talk to the man, he has a lot of truths to what he's talking about. He's accurate on some things, and maybe some things he might have dates confused. Like I said, it's 50 years ago, you know, close to 50 years ago. You think everybody's going to be accurate? Like, stories always get embellished all the time, you know, and like I said, when stories get passed on to the next person, by the time it gets back around to that first person, it's already done changed 10 different ways. You know what I'm saying? People always say, you know, that you hear this a lot. There's your story, my story, and then the truth, you know? And that doesn't necessarily mean that my story and your story are 100% full of shit. It just means that maybe they're not completely 100% accurate. You know, they might be 80% accurate in the other person's story. My story is 80% accurate. Yours is 85% accurate, or 75% accurate. You know what I'm saying? But when you sit down and talk to them about the Vindiolas, the Venegases, the Gabriels, the Sosas, you know, all the different brothers, the nepotism that was in the old, you know, he knew a lot of these dudes personally, right? And, you know what I mean? There's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of truth to it. He can tell you how some of the individuals from Fresno, you know, all the love that Crackers had from his Fresno cats from Fresnel, and how the influence of the Bulldogs started, the F-14ers into the Bulldogs and stuff like that. And he's on point. A lot of that stuff, he's on point. And like Flacco said earlier in the video, Fig, Hobo, you know, Dragon, Bumpers, other cats, you know, have they know him personally. So you're talking about guys that got in. I don't know when Bumpers got in. I know when Fig and Hobo got in sometime in like 71 or 72, maybe 70, but it was one of those years. Like I said, those guys are, you know, Hobo, Fig, Black Bob, Brown Bob, you know what I'm saying? Obviously, the guys now, Pinky, Tibbs, those guys, Corny, you know, Skip, those guys, of course, Cornejo, DC, you know what I'm saying? But then you got you know, Bruiser and the Gabriel brothers, and, you know, all them cats, you know, Macaron, you know, guys that were part of leadership, you know, Perico and, you know, Michael and all those cats that, you know, their names carry more weight than Sundown. Sundown was a soldier. He's admitted it many times, not only on video, but me in person, that he was in trouble a lot within the O. He'd be on discipline act, you know, where he would only have a toothbrush and they'd be telling him scrub the walls and scrub this and scrub that for disciplinary reasons within the, you know, within his own peoples. You know what I mean? So at a soldier level, you know, he might have been squad leader, you know what I mean? But as far as anything higher than that, I don't think they would ever elect him, because he was you know, he was more on he was a hot boy, you know what I'm saying? What they call now a hot boy. But I got nothing but the utmost respect for Sundown. Again, like, if you guys didn't hear me earlier, I know the man personally. I've been to his house. He's been to my house. I knew his father. I broke bread with the dude. I've talked to him many times on a personal level about things I'm not going to discuss here. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, it's just, it is what it is. I don't know what, you know, if somebody's going to be talking about the other side are legends, he don't speak on guys because they're legends. Well, hey, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, you're talking about all them dudes as one, as in a whole, as one entity, which they are, as legends. So what's the difference with the other side? I don't come on here, and I never heard Flacco ever disrespect any of the big four, or talk about any other group from any other state for that matter. So I don't know where that came from. So I don't know what the reasoning was behind those videos. You know, only they know. I'm not knocking nobody for doing it. And like I said, I can't call it like alcoholic, but me personally, I know Sundown. I shook the man's hand. I gave him hugs before. I've embraced him. You know what I'm saying? I know him. Been to his house. He's been to my house. So, you know, I knew his father. I'd done business with his father back in the day in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? Late 90s. So it is what it is. So, you know, hopefully that clears a little bit something up for people so they can understand how somebody has been in the game or started in the game so long back, almost 5 decades, how maybe sometimes they can confuse different situations, you know, with this situation, with that situation. You know what I mean? And it ain't no big thing, but a chicken wing. And I'm not going to say 100% of Sundown stories are accurate and truth, but I will say this. The man was around, and times have changed. Back then in the 70s, it was on like Donkey Kong. I mean, you would be from that that Sundown was from and be sent to Old Folsom or be sent to Quinton or Jamestown. That's straight enemy territory. I mean, you were literally, and just like them, when they get sent to Tracy or Vacaville or Chino, because Chino was a stronghold for that it wasn't the others. That wasn't the other side. It'd be the same thing for them. You know what I mean? So it was straight up legitimately wartime. You know, strapping up with National Geographics, getting your piece, and going out there. Just like back in the day, back in the wartime, back in the, you know, gladiator days, the natives when they were hunting each other, all that stuff. However you want, whatever knowledge, how you say that, knowledge, I can't even say the word. My bad, people. You know what I'm trying to say. The whatever concept you want to use, analogy. There you go. Whatever analogy you want to use. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. So with that being said, Big Lou appreciates everybody for stopping in. I appreciate all the subscribers. Just a heads up, I did 2 videos yesterday on guys that hide behind the Bible or the Quran, and they put a 10 on a 2, meaning usually they're hiding behind something. For some reason, YouTube didn't upload the video. I'm thinking because the thumbnail I had the picture of the Bible and the Quran and the Torah on it. That's probably why. The other video I did was on how people back in the day in the 90s were on crank, how they carried themselves compared to the crystal the last 10, 15 years and the difference, you know. And the thumbnail had some sacks on it, and they didn't upload that one either. So I got to change those thumbnails. I got to re-record the videos because for some reason I erased the videos. I don't know why I did that. So I might be dropping those a little bit later, trying to figure out a way to re-record it so that YouTube uploads them. And I got a lot of content coming out in the next couple of days. Sports profiles and sports content. And then also I'll be probably going live tomorrow. I'm not sure yet what the topic's going to be. It might just be an open thing. I don't know. We'll see. That being said, Big Lou's going to tap on out. Adios.